watching Republic.
Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being with us this Saturday evening. I'm Niranjan, and you're watching the long form story. And on the show tonight, we bring you 4 stories from the last 7 days in a long, detailed, explanatory format. These are stories that dominated the conversation. First up, in Maharashtra, there's a story of a digital transformation for tens of thousands of mosques, for dargahs, schools, for Waqf properties. And this historic step of digitization to modernize Waqf administration and to try and bring it to global standards, to align it with global standards. We're getting you a very detailed report on that. Secondly, questions behind what caused the Boeing 787 Dreamliner crash in Ahmedabad moments after takeoff. Families are seeking clarity. Justice, preliminary reports and corporate silence have only deepened the uncertainty, fueling legal battles, public outrage. And next, the pictures that came in from London, massive protest over Palestine action ban which has spiraled out of control on the roads of London, thousands of arrests rocking the city, along with the anti-immigration protests that have rocked the city of London. And finally, a look at India's southern frontier, as we are set to witness a transformative leap with the Great Nicobar Project, which aims to boost trade, connectivity, defense capabilities. There's a lot of debate around that, but we have a detailed report on why India needs the Great Nicobar Game Changer Project. Well, across Maharashtra, tens of thousands of mosques, dargahs, schools, Waqf properties will be getting a digital transformation. It's begun. The first time that the state is geo-mapping over 45,000 sites covering 92,000 acres, aiming to prevent misuse, detect encroachments and unlock revenue potential on Waqf properties. Officials say this historic step will modernize Waqf administration, align it with global standards. And as this initiative rolls out, digital initiative, communities are welcoming the transparency while public debates continue, political debates continue over the intent. Our report takes a closer look at Maharashtra's Digital WAQF Drive.
Across India, Waqf properties stretch from mosques and dargahs to schools and bustling city blocks.
Maharashtra is set to become the first state in the country to launch a massive geo-mapping drive of Waqf properties. The project will cover over 42,000 properties spread across 92,000 acres with the aim of bringing transparency, boosting revenue and tackling problem of encroachment. But that initiative has also sparked debate and legal challenges.
Maharashtra is taking a historic step for the first time. Over 45,000 Waqf properties across the state are being geo-mapped. The project will cover 45,000 sites spanning 92,000 acres. Officials say the geo-mapping initiative will identify the current use of the properties, prevent misuse and detect encroachments.
The geo-mapping drive or the GIS mapping of all the WAQF assets in the state is going to be undertaken in the whole state, whereby all the WAQF properties will be geolocated and mapped on the GIS layer, and a comprehensive web-based module will be created so that the asset management and the asset tracking of the WAQF property can be done more efficiently, and it can be like lot of issues surrounding WAQF properties, like what is their current utilization, what is their current status, is there any encroachment.
The Waqf board highlights how geomapping will reveal each property's potential and guide development responsibly.
जियो मैपिंग करने का जो उद्देश्य है हमारा, कि जो वक्फ प्रॉपर्टी है जिस उद्देश्य से वक्फ की गई थी उसका यूज़ होना चाहिए, उसका फ़ायदा जो है गरीब मुसलमानों तक पहुंचना चाहिए। तो ये कैसे होगा कि हमारी जियो मैपिंग के अंदर कहाँ कितनी प्रॉपर्टी है। लगभग महाराष्ट्र के अंदर 1 लाख एकड़ प्रॉपर्टी है, लेकिन उसका ख़ास बेनिफिट आज की डेट तक कुछ भी नहीं है। ना तो कोई हमारा अभी तक कोई मेडिकल कॉलेज है, ना कोई बड़ा स्कूल है, ना कोई रेसिडेंशियल कोई बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट है, ना ही कमर्शियल कॉम्प्लेक्स, जबकि ये चारों प्रोविज़न वक्फ एक्ट के अंदर है। इस उद्देश्य को पूरा करने के हेतु ये मैपिंग होगा। मैपिंग के अंदर जो है तो हर प्रॉपर्टी का आइडेंटिफिकेशन होगा, प्रॉपर्टी का स्टेटस होगा, उसमें इंक्रोचमेंट है या खाली है, और उसमें पोटेंशियल क्या है, वो ज़मीन कॉलेज के लायक है, स्कूल बनने लायक है, या फिर कमर्शियल कुछ हो सकता है, या फिर रेसिडेंशियल कॉम्प्लेक्स। तो इससे हमें पता चलेगा कि हमें कहाँ पर कौन सा प्रोजेक्ट करना है, और इससे हमारी प्रॉपर्टी यूटिलाइज़ होगी तो उससे इनकम बढ़ेगा, और उस इनकम से हम वक्फ के उद्देश्य को पूरा कर सकेंगे।
जियो मैपिंग की बात ऐसी हो गई है कि हमारे जो मदरसा है, मस्जिद है, वो 200-300 साल से पुरानी प्रॉपर्टीज़ रिकॉर्ड के हिसाब से पूरे इंडिया देश भर में है। मगर क्या होता है कि रिकॉर्ड्स के लिए पेपर वगैरह जो होते हैं वो कभी ख़राब हो जाते हैं या मिसप्लेस हो जाते हैं, तो हम साबित नहीं कर पाते कि वो प्रॉपर्टी पहले थी। मगर ये जो फैसला लिया गया है, ये ऑनलाइन के अंदर अगर हम एक बार रजिस्ट्रेशन इसको करेंगे तो आने वाले 500 साल 1000 साल तक के हमेशा का रिकॉर्ड रहेगा कि ये वक्फ प्रॉपर्टी है, और इंशाल्लाह वक्फ प्रॉपर्टी को आने वाले टाइम पे कोई हटा नहीं सकता है, कोई बेच नहीं सकता है।
कहीं ना कहीं रिकॉर्ड पे आना चाहिए। वक्फ बोर्ड जो है वो हमारा एक इदारा है, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से अपॉइंट किया हुआ एक बॉडी है, जो महाराष्ट्र स्टेट, हर स्टेट के अंदर जो है वक्फ बोर्ड की एक कमेटी बनाई जाती है। अगर वक्फ बोर्ड की कमेटी ने एक चीज़ को तय किया है कि जियो मैपिंग होना चाहिए, जैसे जुमा मस्जिद ऑफ बॉम्बे ट्रस्ट, इसकी कितनी प्रॉपर्टीज़ है, अगर हम ये रिकॉर्ड पर लेकर आएंगे तो इसमें हर्ष की कोई बात नहीं है।
Globally, Islamic endowments have modernized. Turkey abolished its Waqf ministry a century ago. Saudi Arabia runs Waqf assets as part of national development. Maharashtra's digital leap follows that international template of accountability.
बहुत फ़ायदा होएगा, इसलिए बहुत अच्छा फैसला है महाराष्ट्र गवर्नमेंट का कि जितनी भी प्रॉपर्टीज़ है वो सब रजिस्ट्रेशन हो जाएंगी जिसके नाम पर है। तो ये मुसलमानों के लिए बहुत अच्छा फैसला है।
जियो मैपिंग हो रहा है महाराष्ट्र गवर्नमेंट के पास, तो ये वो सब कुछ अच्छा ही हो रहा है, कोई बुरा नहीं। हम मुसलमान सब उससे सेटिस्फाई है, और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने भी जो फैसला दिया है उसमें भी हम राज़ी है।
बहुत अच्छी बात है, और हम लोग इस फैसले को मानते हैं, और आगे के लिए हमारे भविष्य या फ्यूचर के लिए हमारी प्रॉपर्टी सेफ रहेगी।
जियो मैपिंग की और गूगल के अंदर से पूरी नज़र रखी जाएगी, जिसके वजह से ये देख के वक्फ प्रॉपर्टी के अंदर कोई भी इलीगल कंस्ट्रक्शन नहीं किया जाएगा और कभी बेची नहीं जाएगी। अगर इलीगल कंस्ट्रक्शन होएगा या बिल्डर को बेच के 25-30 माले का टावर बनाया जाएगा तो कहीं ना कहीं वो सरकार को दिख जाएगा। तो ये बहुत अच्छा फैसला है हमारी वक्फ प्रॉपर्टी को बचाने के लिए।
A century of legislation has tried to bring order to Waqf administration. Yet, revenue continues to slide. Despite vast holdings, the national revenue from Waqf estates have collapsed to just 14 crore rupees last year. Maharashtra hopes digitization will reverse the trend. While caretakers and communities welcome geomapping, political leaders raise concerns, warning against potential misuse and questioning the intent behind the move.
Basic thing is to protect the work property for the purpose, that is for the poor and vulnerable population, for the purpose like education, health, protecting them, employment, related to that ultimately, and upliftment of the community. That should not be disturbed. It should not be commercialized because all the properties are on a prime location and they have been in the possession of the work board. In case there is any kind of malified mismanagement by the Mutalik, they said, then inquiry should be conducted, but that immediately should not be derecognized.
Some parties go further, framing geomapping as a political issue rather than a developmental measure.
किसी भी समाज की बेहतरी के लिए अगर आप काम करना चाहते हैं तो समाज को तो विश्वास में ले लीजिए। आप तो हिंदुओं की बात करने आए थे, हिंदू हृदय सम्राट बनते बनते कब आप मुसलमानों के रहनुमा बन गए आपको पता ही नहीं चला, कब आप सौगाते मोदी ले आए आपको पता ही नहीं चला। अब महाराष्ट्र में आप अगर जियो मैपिंग कर रहे हैं तो कहीं इसके पीछे बड़े बड़े उद्योगपतियों को ज़मीनें बेचने का तो आपको इरादा नहीं है, कहीं बड़े बड़े इंडस्ट्रीज को तो नहीं देना चाहते हैं, क्योंकि आप अगर मॉनिटरिंग कर रहे हैं, आप अगर नज़र बनाए हैं, अगर आप जियो मैपिंग कर रहे हैं तो इसके पीछे आपकी मनसा क्या है?
Across India, WAQF claims have triggered controversy from Parliament to the Taj Mahal. Maharashtra's digital ledger aims to end such ambiguity. Central government has proposed amendment to WAQF bill.
मैं किरण जी को बहुत बहुत बधाई देना चाहता हूं कि बहुत अभ्यास कर सारे दूषणों को निकालकर वक्फ कानून को शुद्ध, पारदर्शी और उद्देश्यों को समर्पित बनाने का काम रिज्जू साहब लेकर आए हैं। मैं इसका समर्थन करता हूं।
However, the bill faced massive heat from the opposition in the parliament.
Every religious denominations or any section thereof shall have the right A. to establish and maintain institution for religious and charitable purpose.
पार्टी का हर फैसला वोट के लिए, अपने लोगों को खुश करने के लिए, ये वक्फ बिल के खिलाफ समाजवादी पार्टी है, पहले भी थी, आगे भी रहेगी। जिस तरह के संशोधन भारतीय जनता पार्टी कर रही है वो पूरा कंट्रोल अपने पास चाहते हैं।
जो अल्लाह के नाम पे प्रॉपर्टी वक्फ कर दी गई है उससे अगर आप हमको महरूम कर रहे हैं तो फिर जाहिर है ये तो हमारे लिए बड़ा इमोशनल और बड़ी तकलीफदेह बात रहेगी। तो ये समझ नहीं रहे हैं तो ठीक है, इनको जनता समझा देगी फिर।
However, now the Supreme Court has settled the WAQF controversy. The top court has refused to stay the WAQF Amendment Act. From centuries-old mosques to sprawling city lands, Maharashtra's Digital WAQF Drive is mapping the past to secure the future.
Maharashtra's geo-mapping experiment could become a model for the rest of India. If successful, it promises transparency, revenue and community welfare. But the real test will be balancing governance with faith and technology with trust.
Next up, the Air India 171 tragedy in Ahmedabad, June this year, left 260 people dead in just a matter of seconds. India's official biggest aviation tragedy. Questions linger over what caused the Boeing 787 Dreamliner to crash moments after takeoff. Families continue to seek clarity and justice. Preliminary reports, corporate silence have only deepened this uncertainty, fueling legal battles, public outrage, and while interim relief memorial initiatives offer some support, the call for a full independent investigation is growing louder. Our report on the long-form story looks at the crash in much deeper detail. The families are now fighting for accountability, and Boeing's mounting global legal challenges continue. The flashpoint this week has been The father of the pilot, a 91-year-old Mr. Sabharwal, writing to the Indian government, saying that his son, the pilot of that plane, cannot be made the scapegoat for this tragedy.
A takeoff, 32 seconds later, a crash. This Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner never left the skies, only fell from them. A tragedy written in seconds, etched into aviation history. What happened between liftoff and the moment the aircraft tore into BJ Medical College? The mystery still hangs heavy in the smoke and the answer remains elusive. The AAIB's preliminary report, it did little to clear the fog. Instead, it sparked what feels like a Rashomon effect, multiple stories, no single truth. Without the proper context, necessary elaboration and disclosure of related information, it has lent itself a great deal of ambiguity. And this lack of information only led to increased speculations. What was meant to bring clarity only deepened the mystery.
The design defect potentially is an issue with these couplings. Although we've not completed our review of their design, it could be an application issue or an installation problem. But we know that the documents do speak to manufacturing issues with respect to Boeing's failure to install waterproofing, waterproof sealant, waterproof drip lines and drip pans in areas. We are concerned for the potential of both a design and a manufacturing issue with these aircraft.
For the families mourning their lost loved ones, this lingering ambiguity deepens their grief, prolongs their anguish, and delays the catharsis they so desperately seek.
12 जून को अहमदाबाद में जो एयर इंडिया प्लेन क्रैश का जो हादसा हुआ, इनमें मेरे बच्चा था जिनका नाम दीर्घ था। वो सिर्फ 23 साल की उम्र का था। आज तक ये 20 तारीख को इसका 100 दिन हो जाएगा, लेकिन 100 दिन होने के बाद भी जो प्लेन का हादसा हुआ वो किस कारण हुआ उसका सच अभी तक बाहर नहीं आया है। तो मैं जो भी अथॉरिटी है उनको मेरी तरफ से अपील करता हूँ कि वो जल्द से जल्द जो सच है वो बाहर आए, जिससे हमको ये मिले और भविष्य में ऐसा कोई हादसा न हो जिससे जो मैंने खोया है वो दूसरी किसी को इसकी तकलीफ हो।
बोर्डिंग पास सब कुछ हो गया, मुझे फ़ोन आया कि मैं पहुँचाया हूँ, मेरे बोर्डिंग पास सब कुछ हो गया है, मुझे भूख लगी है, मैं खाना खा के वापस फ़ोन करता हूँ। और मुझे फ़ोन तो नहीं आया और प्लेन में बेचकर मुझे फ़ोन किया था कि मैं अब प्लेन में बेच गया हूँ। तो मैंने पूछा कि माँ को फ़ोन किया था, तो कि माँ को मैंने फ़ोन किया था, माँ नहीं उठाता है, तो तुम माँ के फ़ोन करके कह देना कि मैं बैठ गया हूँ प्लेन में। बस इतनी ही बात लास्ट टाइम मेरे हुई।
The family, 14 families of Diu have been hit by a storm a few days back, which is on 12th of June. While there have been 14 families engulfed in the plane crash which happened on 12th June, there's one miraculous family where Vishwas Bhalia had come out alive. It in fact is a miraculous life, but there he has lost his own brother Ajay Bhalia.
A fresh lawsuit slams Boeing and Honeywell, blaming faulty fuel switches for their Air India 787 crash. Looks like Boeing's playbook hasn't changed. Deny, deflect, and delay. Meanwhile, grieving families are left chasing answers Boeing does not want to give.
outlined this issue of water leaks on board 787 aircraft. We know that those leaks are mentioned in documents going back at least to 2016. We've also obtained some of the couplings that are referenced in those materials, and our experts are evaluating those couplings now to determine what the problem is, because as we learned from the documents, couplings are leaking in areas above EE bays or electric equipment rooms on board the aircraft, underneath the cockpit in the front as well as in the aft of the plane, causing equipment to become wet. Rush to blame the pilots is unfair. Yes, I can tell you that any knee-jerk or speculative rush to blame the pilots so quickly is unfair and inappropriate, quite frankly, because it adds insult to injury potentially for those pilots' families. We know that information was released from the preliminary report that speaks to movement of the fuel switches. We don't yet know if those switches manually moved or if that's a reflection of something going on in the electrical system in the plane. If we can access the flight data recorder information, and we filed a Freedom of Information Act request in the United States for that information, if that is forthcoming, we can find out what happened here. We can look at the data and establish an accurate timeline. The focus initially is going to be on what caused the ram air turbine, or the RAT, to deploy and why. We know, based on preliminary information, it appears that it deployed very early in this sequence. That is caused by something. And so if we can get the data and understand what caused that, we'll be very, very close to understanding what happened here and what caused this crash.
In a dramatic turn, the 91-year-old father of Sumit Sabharwal has spoken out. In this moment of reckoning, he raises his voice firmly against Boeing, the AIIB report, and all that compromises the peace of his late son. In a letter addressed to the Ministry of Civil Aviation and the AAIB Director General, he demands a formal, independent investigation seeking truth and justice above all. In a powerful letter, Pushkaraj Sabharwal, father of Captain Sumit Sabharwal, condemned the preliminary AAIB report as deficient, diversionary and discrepant, accusing it of failing to provide clear facts about the crash. He strongly refutes media speculation that his son was under psychological pressure or considering suicide, pointing out that such insinuations based on outdated personal events have deeply harmed both his son's reputation and his own health. He demands the truth, citing Captain Sabharwal's 25 years of flawless flying and over 100 flights post his mother's passing without incident. His call for a formal, unbiased investigation is a plea for justice and dignity.
India still have contract with Turkish Technique?
I don't think this is the appropriate time to talk about that. We're very focused on supporting the families and everyone affected by today's incident.
We just wanted to know, is Air India accountable for this?
Look, it's our aircraft, it's our crew. We need to make sure the investigation is well supported. But first and foremost, we want to look after the people that have been affected by this incident.
One last question. There were multiple show cause notices given. Why were they ignored?
I don't believe this is the appropriate time to talk about things that are unrelated to this incident.
You would at least have information about the Turkish Technique. Do you have contract with Turkish Technique?
As I said before, this is not the time to talk about that. We're focused very much on the people that have been affected by this incident.
No? Just yes or no. Mr. Wilson, please say yes or no. India still have contract with Turkish Technique?
I don't think this is the appropriate time to talk about that. We're very focused on supporting the families and everyone affected by today's incident.
We just wanted to know, is Air India accountable for this?
Look, it's our aircraft, it's our crew. We need to make sure the investigation is well supported. But first and foremost, we want to look after the people that have been affected by this incident.
One last question. There were multiple show cause notices given. Why were they ignored?
I don't believe this is an appropriate time to talk about things that are unrelated to this incident.
You would at least have information about the Turkish technique. Do you have contract with Turkish technique?
As I said before, this is not the time to talk about that. We're focused very much on the people that have been affected by this incident.
Yes or no? Just yes or no. Mr. Wilson, please say yes or no.
In response to a letter from Damandiu MP Umesh Bhai, Air India has begun disbursing interim relief of Rs 25 lakh to the families of crash victims. Meanwhile, the Tata Group has established the AI 171 Memorial and Welfare Trust, pledging Rs 1 crore ex gratia for each deceased passenger. The trust also aims to rebuild the BJ Medical College hostel and extend psychological and material support to first responders and relief workers affected by the tragedy. With Boeing now entangled in a fresh legal battle filed by families of the Air India crash victims, one thing remains unchanged: its deafening silence. While others step up with aid and accountability, Boeing's intent to compensate the grieving remains vague at best, offering little more than corporate distance to those seeking relief for an unimaginable loss. Boeing's legal troubles aren't limited to India. Earlier in June, the aerospace giant agreed to pay $1.1 billion to settle US criminal charges over 2 deadly 737 MAX crashes. Despite shelling out hundreds of millions in penalties and victim compensation, critics call the deal morally repugnant, a stark reminder that Boeing's lack of accountability stretches far beyond Indian skies.
To evaluate claims potentially against Boeing and others in the United States is completely separate and apart from compensation packages which have been offered by Air India and Tata. Those compensation packages have begun. Families have begun receiving some monetary funds from Air India. We understand Tata has registered their fund, and those payments should begin the end of this month, hopefully, or at least by the beginning of the next month.
London streets turned chaotic as massive protests were seen in the last 1 week over the Palestine action ban, which on its own spiraled out of control, with nearly 1,000 arrests rocking the city. The Metropolitan Police in London have reported detaining hundreds for allegedly backing the outlawed group, with a few others caught in violent clashes with officers in London. And yet the protest organizers insist the demonstration stayed calm, accusing police of spinning tales and unrest. And add to that the immigration protests that London has seen in the last 1 week. What's going on in London? It's on fire. Here's the full story behind the fiery standoff seen in the United Kingdom.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Arrest the people!
London's streets explode in chaos as protests against the Palestine action ban spiral out of control. The fuse was lit in July when Palestine action was outlawed under anti-terror laws after activists stormed the RAF base, smashing 2 military jets.
The mass arrests are already fueling a fierce political debate. The Home Office defends the ban of Palestine action, pointing to its record of direct action against defense sites, including reported damage to RAF bases and arms facilities. Officials insist proscription is a matter of national security, but critics, including human rights groups, warn the move risks criminalizing peaceful dissent. They argue that arresting protesters simply for displaying signs undermines freedom of speech and right to demonstrate. Palestine Action has vowed to challenge the proscription in court, setting up a legal battle that could define how Britain balances security with civil liberties in the months ahead.
The bold move made supporting the group a crime, punishable by up to 14 years of prison.
London witnessed a dramatic scene at Parliament Square where almost 900 demonstrators were arrested during a pro-Palestine protest. The crowd had gathered to show support for Palestine Action, recently banned by the UK government under the terrorism laws. Protesters staged a sit-in holding placards and chanting before police moved in. Authorities say most arrests were made under the Terrorism Act for supporting a proscribed group. While the majority of the demonstrators were peaceful, police report some scuffles and minor assaults on officers. It marks one of the largest mass arrests in recent years, sparking questions about how far the laws should extend into protest activity.
Listen to what Dan Jarvis, UK Security Minister, said while discussing the bill to proscribe Palestine Action as a terrorist group in the House of Lords.
Since its inception in 2020, Palestine Action has orchestrated and enacted a campaign of direct criminal action against businesses and institutions, including key national infrastructure and defence firms that provide services and supplies to support Ukraine, NATO, our Five Eyes allies, and the UK defence industry. Its methods have become more aggressive, with its members demonstrating a willingness to use violence.
Defiant from day one, Palestine Action supporters have rallied against the ban, taking their fight to the streets.
London has become the focal point of escalating unrest following the government's decision to outlaw Palestine Action, a move that has triggered mass arrests, legal challenges, and renewed debate over civil liberties. In July 2025, the UK government proscribed Palestine Action under the Terrorism Act after its members were found to have broken into a Royal Air Force base and inflicted damage on military aircraft. Fast forward to early September, and tensions boiled over. On 6 September 2025, a demonstration at the Parliament Square in London resulted in almost 900 arrests, 857 of which were under the provision of supporting a proscribed organisation, the rest for various offences, including assaults on police officers. Meanwhile, Palestine Action won permission from the High Court to challenge the proscription in a judicial review, but the government has also secured the right to defend its ban in the same hearings. A full court hearing is scheduled for 25th September 2025. The Crown Prosecution Service has since announced further prosecutions. 138 individuals have now been charged with showing support for the banned group since the prosecution took effect.
Palestine Action's fate was sealed on July 4th when a High Court judge rejected a bid to block its terror group ban. But on July 30th, Palestine Action won a chance to fight back, securing permission to challenge the terror ban. Battle raged on as the Home Office struck back on September 4th, winning a Court of Appeal ruling to block the challenge. In response to this, a street artist, Banksy, unveiled a new mural of a judge beating a protester outside London court. The biggest showdown yet erupted on September 6th in London, with over 1,500 protesters defying the ban, flooding the capital.
Tensions flared in central London this weekend as the UK police carried out one of the city's largest mass arrests in recent years. Almost 900 demonstrators were detained at Parliament Square during a pro-Palestine protest in support of Palestine Action, a group the government has now proscribed as a terrorist organization. Footage shows protesters staging a sit-in with placards while officers moved in swiftly under the Terrorism Act. Most arrests were for backing the banned group, though police say some clashes also led to the charges of assault. The Home Office insists the ban is vital to protect national security, citing Palestine Action's attacks on defense sites. But critics warn the crackdown risks criminalizing peaceful dissent, sparking a heated debate over free speech in Britain. Palestine Action has vowed to fight its proscription in court, setting the stage for a legal and political showdown in the weeks ahead.
Shame on you!
As tensions boiled over, police cracked down, arresting nearly 900 people in one of the largest mass arrests in recent UK history. A week later, on September 13, London witnessed its biggest far-right gathering in years. Over 1 lakh people joined Unite the Kingdom rally led by activist Tommy Robinson, sparking deep concern within the Indian community in the UK. But the so-called anti-immigration protests collapsed under its own contradiction as the anti-immigration protesters were caught enjoying Indian street food. While the streets of London were witnessing chaos, US President Donald Trump landed in the United Kingdom. But before Trump arrived, protesters started opposing his visit. From Palestine Action protests to far-right rallies, and now anti-Trump demonstrations. London has turned into a flashpoint of unrest. What began with a terror ban has spiraled into a wider storm, raising questions about the United Kingdom's stability as it braces for more turbulence.
Our southern frontier is about to witness a transformative leap with the Great Nicobar Project. Ports, airports, townships, power infrastructure. It aims to boost trade connectivity and defense capabilities. Strategically close to the Malacca Strait, the island is set to become a hub for maritime influence for India in the Indo-Pacific region. Now, while promising economic opportunities for the locals there in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the project also faces scrutiny over environmental and tribal concerns. Mostly the opposition is opposing it, mostly Congress party. Our report on the long-form story takes you inside this ambitious endeavor, the Nicobar Project, shaping India's maritime future.
Today we are here at the southernmost frontier of India. This is Campbell Bay in Great Nicobar Island. Down south 70 kilometers from here is Indra Point, the southernmost tip of India. Government of India has big plans for this island.
At the gateway of the Malacca Strait, Great Nicobar stands guard over one of the world's busiest sea lanes. Here, a mega infrastructure project worth over 80,000 crore rupees is set to change India's maritime landscape forever. Conceived by Niti Aayog in 2021, the project includes a port, dual-use airport, township, and a 450 MVA solar and gas power plant.
It is developing a transformational project here. The project has 4 components to it. The first component is an international container transshipment terminal at Galatia Bay near Indira Point. The second component is a 450 MVA gas and solar based power plant. The third component is an international greenfield airport, and the fourth component is a township in more than 16,000 hectares of land.
अंडमान निकोबार द्वीप समूह में जो हमारे यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी GNI प्रोजेक्ट जो लेकर आ रहे हैं, लगभग इनिशियल स्टेज में 72,000 करोड़ का ये प्रोजेक्ट है और कंप्लीट होते होते ये 1 लाख करोड़ तक पहुंचेगा।
Great Nicobar is just 90 nautical miles from Indonesia's Sumatra, giving India a direct line to one of the busiest maritime trade routes, the Malacca Strait. For decades, India has let the strategic asset remain underutilized.
इस परियोजना को तो एक्चुअली में कांग्रेस पार्टी को ही बहुत पहले ला देना चाहिए था, बट जब उनकी नाकामी, जब उन्हें ऐसा महसूस हुआ कि उनकी नाकामी है, तब वो इसके विरोध में आवाज़ उठाने लगे, जो कि बिल्कुल गलत है और हम इसका पुरजोर विरोध करते हैं, हम ग्रेट निकोबार द्वीपवासी।
GNI प्रोजेक्ट सिर्फ अंडमान निकोबार के लिए नहीं, पूरे देश के लिए एक इम्पोर्टेंट प्रोजेक्ट है, क्योंकि ये जो ग्रेट निकोबार आइलैंड है मलाक्का स्ट्रेट के एकदम टिप पे है और प्रति 2 मिनट में एक कार्गो वेसल वहां से गुजरता है, जो कि मलाक्का स्ट्रेट से होते हुए मलेशिया और सिंगापुर जाता है। पूरे भारत का 85% ट्रांसशिपमेंट कार्गो जो है सिंगापुर, मलेशिया और श्रीलंकन पोर्ट से हैंडल होता है। इससे भारत को एक बहुत ही बड़ा फॉरेन एक्सचेंज का जरूरत पड़ता है इस कार्गो को हैंडल करने के लिए। इस प्रोजेक्ट के आने से भारत के एक्सचेकर से बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट और बहुत ही बड़ा फॉरेन एक्सचेंज का बचाव होगा।
ये ग्रेट निकोबार प्रोजेक्ट जो है, जो कि आज के डेट में पूरे देश में एक सुर्खियां बनी हुई है, तो ये देश के लिए सामरिक तौर पे, आर्थिक तौर पे और जहां तक रहा बात की युवाओं के रोजगार का, ये एक बहुत बड़ा अवसर मिलेगा।
More than 80% of India's transshipment cargo is currently handled by the port in Colombo or Port Kalang in Malaysia or the port in Singapore. India having the strategic asset here as Great Nicobar Island, which is less than 200 kilometers from Malacca Strait, has not been able to develop a transshipment port here yet. Plans have been there since 1970s, but it has not materialized yet. Narendra Modi government has taken a firm resolve to develop an international container transshipment terminal here at Galatia Bay in Great Nicobar Island. The port will not only serve India's needs but also bring in essential foreign exchange.
For locals, the project is not just about strategy. It promises connectivity, jobs and modern amenities.
हमारे गांव में एक प्रोजेक्ट आ रहा है जिससे हमारे बच्चों को, हमारे घर वालों को, हमारे गांव वालों को बहुत फ़ायदा होएगा। हमारे गांव को कोई जानता नहीं है, हमारे कैम्बल बे को कोई जानता नहीं है, ग्रेट निकोबार कहाँ है किसी को पता नहीं है। इससे कम से कम ग्रेट निकोबार के बारे में हम लोगों को जानकारी होएगी, पूरे भारतवर्ष को जानकारी होएगी।
देखिए, हम चाहते हैं कि वो जो हमारा सर्कल रेट है जो अंडमान निकोबार में जो हमारे कैम्बल बे का है वो बहुत ही कम है। कम होने का कारण ये है कि आज तक वहाँ किसी प्रकार की कोई विकास परियोजनाएं चालू नहीं हुई। अगर ये चालू होती है तो हम चाहते हैं कि अंडमान निकोबार की जो पोर्ट ब्लेयर राजधानी है, जो श्री विजयपुरम जिसका अभी नया नाम है, इसके हिसाब से हमें यहाँ के वंडोर वगैरह जैसे जो यहाँ पर काफ़ी क्या टूरिज्म डेवलप हो चुका है, उस हिसाब से हमें वहाँ का सर्किल रेट सही से दिया जाए, ताकि हमें ऐसा कुछ ना लगे कि हमें इतने साल रहकर भी कुछ नुकसान हुआ है। हम सरकार से चाहते हैं कि हमें ठीक से मुआवजा दिया जाए, ज़मीन का हो, चाहे पेड़ का हो, चाहे नारियल का हो, सुपारी का, किसी का भी हो, हमारा उसी में उन्नति होगा, क्योंकि यह एक टाइम ही हमें मिल सकेगा।
मैं कैम्बल बे का निवासी होने के नाते मैं पुनः एक बार जरूर यही कहूँगा कि कैम्बल बे में सेटलर हो, नॉन सेटलर हो, इसको कोई भी विरोध नहीं कर रहा है और जल्दी से जल्दी इसको बनाने के लिए सब बोल रहे हैं और उनका ये भी एक इंतजार है कि कब यहाँ पे ये काम शुरू होगा और कब हमें कोई रोजगार का अपॉर्चुनिटी मिले, कुछ कमाने के लिए कुछ रास्ता बने। तो इसके लिए वो ईगरली वेट कर रहे हैं, बहुत ही इच्छुक हैं कि ये कब शुरू होने वाला है। तो इसलिए मैं पूरे अंडमान GNI ग्रेट निकोबार आइलैंड के पूरे तमाम लोगों की ओर से मैं यही कहना चाहूंगा सरकार को भी कि जितना जल्दी हो सकता है इस प्रोजेक्ट को शुरू किया जाए।
ये GNI प्रोजेक्ट लेके यहाँ पे फिशरमैन कमेटी को आने वाला दिन फिश का जो भी यहाँ पे मिलता है, लेकिन सेल नहीं हो पाता है। ये प्रोजेक्ट आने से यहाँ फिशरमैन कमेटी भाई लोगों को सबको यहाँ से बाहर कंट्री भी बेच सकते हैं, यहाँ से मछली पकड़ने का, और विदेश में भी बेच सकते हैं इसको। तो जेएनई प्रोजेक्ट हम लोग चाहता है कि यहाँ पे वो प्रोजेक्ट आना चाहिए।
मैं खुशनसीबी सोचता हूँ और गवर्नमेंट को भी इस चीज़ के लिए धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ कि इस छोटे से द्वीप, जो इस आइलैंड को कोई नहीं जानता था, जो भारत का अंतिम छोर है, हमारा ग्रेट निकोबार आइलैंड, बहुत ही हमारा सुंदर सा एक छोटा सा द्वीप है। इस द्वीप में हम 7000 के पॉपुलेशन, बस हमारा 7000 का एक छोटा सा पॉपुलेशन वाला द्वीप है। लेकिन आपको बताते हुए मुझे ये गर्व लग रहा है कि गर्व महसूस हो रहा है। हमारा कैम्बल बे जोग्राफिकली सिंगापुर से बड़ा है, हमारा लैंड सिंगापुर से बहुत ही काफ़ी बड़ा क्षेत्र में हमारा ग्रेट निकोबार आइलैंड है।
Even the ex-servicemen settlers who made this island home decades ago back the project.
यहाँ पर जेट्टी जो बन रही है वो सबके लिए फ़ायदा होगा। हमारे लोग यहाँ से एक ही दिन में अपने मेनलैंड, कहीं दिल्ली या कहीं कलकत्ता दूसरा जगह पहुँच जाएगा, अपने घर एक ही दिन में चले जाएगा। और वहाँ का बोर्ड यहाँ, वहाँ का जहाज़ यहाँ एक ही दिन में पहुँच जाएगा, 2-4 घंटे के अंदर पहुँच जाएगा। बहुत अच्छी बात है, ये बन जाए बड़ी खुशी की बात है।
In a recent editorial, Congress leader Sonia Gandhi called the Great Nicobar Project an ecological and humanitarian disaster.
राहुल जी जाते हैं मलेशिया, उसी वक्त अलेक्जेंडर साइरस वहाँ पे मौजूद रहता है। ये तो इत्तेफाक तो नहीं हो सकता है कि एक आदमी 2 दिन के लिए घूमने जा रहा है, उसी वक्त एक ऐसा व्यक्ति जो जॉर्ज साइरस का पोता हो वहाँ पे मौजूद हो। ये लोग वहाँ पे बैठकर कंस्पायर करता है देश के खिलाफ और इस प्रोजेक्ट को रोकने के लिए।
Critics argue the project risks damaging 15% of the island's forest cover and affecting 2 tribal groups, the Nicobaris and the Shompen.
अब ट्राइबल इश्यू को मैं बताना चाहता हूँ कि वहाँ पे 2 ट्राइब्स रहते हैं पूरे ग्रेट निकोबार आइलैंड में। एक शोम्पेन है और एक निकोबारी ट्राइब है। शोम्पेन ट्राइब जो है वो नोमैडिक ट्राइब है और वो जंगलों में रहता है। उनका जो कांग्रेस पार्टी जैसे कह रहा है, उनका पूरा लाइवलीहुड खत्म हो जाएगा, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। आप देखिए कि टोटल जंगल एरिया जो गवर्नमेंट जो है डी नोटिफाई कर रहा है 73 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर है, और उसके बदली में 76 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर जमीन वापस नोटिफाई हो रहा है रिजर्व फॉरेस्ट में, ट्राइबल रिजर्व फॉरेस्ट में। तो ये जो है 3 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर ज्यादा है जो एग्जिस्टिंग जो ट्राइबल रिजर्व जो डिक्लेयर करके रखा हुआ है। तो और ये एरिया जस्ट एडजेसेंट, साथ में जुड़ा हुआ एरिया, कोई ऐसा नहीं कि कोई अलग जगह पे नोटिफाई हो रहा है। तो इससे शोम्पेन ट्राइब्स पे कोई खास असर नहीं पड़ने वाला है।
मैं तो वहाँ का रहने वाला हूँ, जिला परिषद सदस्य हूँ और भली भांति जानता हूँ जिस ट्राइबल्स के नाम लिया गया है शोम्पेन, ये जो प्रोजेक्ट आ रहा है वहाँ पे कोई शोम्पेन समुदाय से लेना देना है ही नहीं। हमारा ट्राइबल शोम्पेन जो है उस एरिया में न रहते हैं और न उस एरिया में जाते हैं।
अंडमान निकोबार के टोटल फॉरेस्ट एरिया जो है 7000 प्लस स्क्वायर किलोमीटर है, और इस प्रोजेक्ट में जो अफेक्टेड एरिया जो है वो 130 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर है। उसमें से भी कहा जाता है कि सिर्फ 50 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर एरिया को ही डिफॉरेस्टेशन किया जाएगा। वो जो 50 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर जो है वो सिर्फ 0.69 स्क्वायर परसेंटेज है। 0.69% जंगल कट जाए और पूरा देश का मानसून रुक जाएगा, ऐसा तो कुछ होने वाला है।
लगभग 10 लाख लोगों की कॉलोनी बनने जा रही है। आज मुझे बताइए, इतना बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट, ये सोनिया गांधी जी की गलती नहीं है, इसमें सोनिया गांधी जी के थ्रू विदेशी ताकतें खेल रही हैं।
This island is as sleepy as it can be at this time. Behind me is the Campbell Bay port area. There are a few jetties here. These jetties are meant to service the local population. Apart from passenger and cargo ships, these jetties are also used by the defense forces for their needs. Apart from these jetties, despite the strategic location of Great Nicobar Island, this island doesn't have a major port. This island is located very close to the Malacca Strait. Malacca Strait is not even 200 kilometers from the tip of this island, that is Indira Point. Malacca Strait is a major passage which connects Indian Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. More than 30% of the world's trade passes through the Malacca Strait. Malacca Strait is also very important for China because the majority of China's trade also passes through the Malacca Strait.
Great Nicobar Project is a geopolitical game changer. India gains leverage over the Malacca Strait, a vital route for global trade and Chinese oil imports. Economically, the port will handle 14 million TEUs of cargo annually. India's reliance on foreign ports raises national security issues. GNI Galathea Bay Port Project aims to counter the vulnerabilities that Indian trade faces today. The Great Nicobar Project stands at the intersection of strategy, development and ecology. While debate continues, India is moving forward, securing its southern frontier, empowering local communities and asserting its place in the Indo-Pacific.
And that's it on this edition of the Long Form Story, ladies and gentlemen. In case you missed any of the 4 long form stories we brought to you on the show, you can catch the repeat tomorrow, Sunday, 12 p.m. Thanks for watching.